Live. Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Midnight Diner, episode 10. Streaming live from the Crossroads. I'm Dread Pirate KK, your host for the evening, even though I just said good morning. Time is, who cares? I was not allowed to prepare for this stream. I did not every time I was trying to take notes or I had a few notes. I didn't even bring my fucking tablet thing to keep track of my notes, but regardless, I wouldn't have used it because everything I was writing down, I was like, I don't care. Don't care. What, as the title of the chapter is, what's the point? I've been in a phase of like, okay, what the fuck is the point? I almost didn't even stream today. I wrote it on my calendar to be like, oh yay, I'm going to stream. This was a couple weeks ago. Like, I'm going to stream on the 24th. It's day after the Virgo new moon. And then a couple days ago, I crossed it off my calendar. I was like, what is the point? I don't have anything to say. All this stuff is the same, like whatever. I'd also just been through kind of an intense time. And then yesterday I had even more of an intense little thank you Virgo new moon bullshit. I don't know. The eclipse portal is open. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do this. And I hadn't even made a promo or anything. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go today. And if I stream next week, maybe I'm just not supposed to be on the lunations anymore, whatever. But I realized, well, I wasn't meditating, but I'm kind of in that contemplative state where I spend a lot of time. I'm just kind of, the radio, my brain with the open head, I'm like radio stations. I'm just tuning into different little cosmic radio stations, different thoughts I'm having. And I kept seeing my thumbnail for the YouTube stream thing, thumbnail, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And it had just said like, what's the point? And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to stream in this energy in case anyone else is, I'm assuming in case anyone else is kind of going through because the what's the point phase is a big, you hit this multiple times throughout the awakening process, or even just in like regular life. I know we've all had plenty of moments about like, what the fuck are we even doing? What is the point of any of this shit? And on the awakening process, it's like, it's just part of the cycle. And so I thought, well, if I'm seeing the thumbnail that I'm supposed to create and I'm already in this energy, I'm like, well, I guess we're going to get on. And even if it's 20 minutes, famous last words with me. Last time I said that, I talked for almost 3 hours. I doubt that is happening today because I am truly exhausted is sort of the right word. It's sort of also not because I've been resting a lot. I haven't been doing a lot. But I am just like, I had this bone tired kind of feeling in my body. And we're just going to see what happens. So I'm not sure. I'm never sure what's going to come out of my mouth, but usually I have something to say, but we'll get there. And so I guess I'm just going to kind of go into things like what is the point and why I'm feeling this way, some of the current energies. I also realized I messed up last time because, again, of course, I fucking the corrections and omissions from last time. I know I said I kept getting confused with the time because I knew the eclipses were in September, but I kept thinking the next lunation was going to be an eclipse. So I think I signed off last week being like, oh, next time I'm here, it'll be the eclipse. It's not the eclipse. It is in September, but it's the portal is open. The eclipse portal is open. And you can kind of, when we say things like that, the portal is open, what does that even mean? It's kind of depends on who you ask and how you are feeling the energies. And so for eclipse season, usually eclipses line up with where the nodal axis is. And I know I talked about this last stream, the Virgo Pisces nodal axis. It doesn't have to be. We've had plenty of we had an Aries eclipse, even though the nodes were in Pisces and Virgo. So it doesn't have to be exactly all the time, but typically eclipses fall around where the nodal axis is. And so because the South Node is in Virgo, when Virgo season starts, which Virgo, I think that was the 22nd we started Virgo season. And that, for me, that opens up the eclipse portal, because that's when, that's where the nodes are. We're going to have eclipses in Virgo season. And so, you can say that the eclipse portal opened now with the Virgo new moon. You can also say that it opened, August 1st, because August is the start of Virgo season, not till later in the month, but so you can be feeling these eclipse energies kind of anytime. It's like a 6-month cycle. You can feel them starting and kind of rolling out over the months. So it's not like an exact thing. It's like when the eclipses happen, or when a transit of any kind happens, that's like the exclamation point of the energy, and it's like the highest probability of things happening. But if everything always happened all at once on those days or whatever, it would just be chaos. So we kind of feel it in waves and stuff. So eclipse season has officially opened for me. With this Virgo new moon. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a bit as I kind of go through some of these energies. But the last time I streamed was the Aquarius full moon, and literally the day after, what is today? The 24th? Yeah, August 24th. I keep saying June. I was writing in something and I typed in June again. I don't, like I said, timelines are, I just feel like I'm in a soup of, I don't, I'm under construction, and I felt this way for a while. It's been not this entire Mercury retrograde, but like I remember talking about last time, the 7/7 portal to the 8/8 portal, July 7th to August 8th, like that feels like a major reset kind of energy, and galactic new years and days out of time and all kinds of stuff. And so I've been feeling like I've been peeling away from something during this Mercury retrograde, and I've been talking about that for a little bit now. But the Virgo new moon, it that we just had, it was very interesting. But I didn't finish my thought about the Aquarius full moon. I'll just go back there. But it's the day after I streamed, maybe even that night, honestly, I just woke up and I was in a severe emotional low, and I got taken out. It was just plunged into this low. And I am going to also address what an emotional low is, because that's the terminology from human design. And so, yeah, you can refer to it as a depression or, whatever. And that is also true, but it's the emotional low vocabulary resonates with me because I have a defined solar plexus in human design, and that gives me an emotional authority. And that means I am constantly on some part of my emotional wave, and it's the strongest part of my existence right now. So even though I have like a defined sacral center, because that's a generator aura thing, and it gives me the yes or no and like the life force to do things. And then I have a defined spleen, which is kind of like these whispers in the moment of like instinctual things that I know I need to do, but it's like so quiet. Sometimes I'm like, wait, did I have a thought? Did I have, like, it's kind of like, what's that, boy? What you got? It's like, it's a dog going, something's going on. And that's how I feel when my spleen goes off. I'm just like, okay, what did you just say? And so it's a real quiet, kind of instinctual knowing in the moment. But the emotional wave, which is my ultimate authority, I'm just constantly on the highs and lows and like in the neutrals and all kinds of things. And 50% of the population has a defined solar plexus. And so you might feel yourself in some of the things that I'm talking about. But also, it doesn't mean if you have like an open solar plexus or an undefined solar plexus, it doesn't mean you don't get big emotions. It just means that, it's when an undefined solar plexus has emotions, they're kind of like, oh gosh, what is wrong? It's like a grit in the oyster where you like, get it out. Like, what is going on here? I want to fix the thing. I want to analyze it, that kind of, it's like, why am I feeling this way? And you want to, kind of rationalize and explain things. Instead of me as a defined emotional being, I just allow the feelings to be, because I know there's no there is no rationalizing them, even though I do try. It's not like I'm perfect at this and I'm not, but when you're in the mental space trying to rationalize or explain or justify something, that's, you're out of that's your not self. And when I'm in my emotional wave, which is a constant thing that I am on, and so it doesn't mean I'm always low. It just means when I do crash into those, it's an emotional low, and it's just a period of time where I'm dragged to hell, and, I get to purge whatever I need to purge. And this one was a real doozy. I actually am going to explain kind of what happened. I didn't know what was happening at first. I thought I was just in a low, because again, these things have happened all my life. I'm like, okay, I'm in a low. That's just the way it is. And this one took me out. I didn't get out of bed for 3 days, and I've sort of been spending most of my time in bed, to be honest, even though I'm not still in, hell coughed me out. I'm out of the pit of despair, whatever. But I'm sort of, I'm on the edge. I feel like I'm on a knife edge where it's like one little thing goes wrong, and I'm like, I it's not, this was not a pretty low, and they're not always that bad. When I go into my lows, I do just need to be isolated. I do just want to not be around people, etc. I need, it's a requirement for me. It's not just a need, even though a need is a requirement. It's like, it goes beyond need for me. I must have isolation, and I must go into my hermit hole, and I just don't want to be that person around that I am in a low, that around other people in my life. And so I have to just, it's part of my, in astrology, I have a 12th house sun and south node. And when the 12th house is a hidden house. It's like the house of, mental institutions and, prisons and, monasteries. It's not all bad, but it's like places of isolation and total just, you're unseen by the rest of the world. I talk about my invisibility cloak that I've been working on taking off. It's been on me all my life, and that's part of it. But part of having a 12th house sun, the sun is your consciousness. It is you. And when it's in a hidden house, the sun wants to shine and be like, this is who I am. But when it's in a 12th house, the hidden house of mental institutions, it's just a requirement to know myself, and to be my sun self, is to be isolated in those spaces of just hermit hole, nobody around me, not even in the same house. Like, I'm talking no energies within, just leave me the fuck alone. And it's been a real source of shame for me, which is it is part of why I go into isolation, but also it's not just that, because I do just require, my body, my energy requires total isolation in order to replenish. And so it's not just that, but it is when I crawl out of it's sort of easy being in the low, because I just am like, I don't have the capacity to care about anything, and I scream and I cry, and I lay there in bed, rotting. Bed rotting is a lovely little thing that we do, these emotional lows. So that part is like almost easy compared to when I climb out of the hole, and I just have so much shame and embarrassment for like the behavior that I have, and you know the thoughts that I have, whatever. I do see that I have a chat, but I think I need to explain that I am not going to be fit check. Oh yeah, I got my overalls, my little bog witch uniform. I'm not even wearing, I don't even have a shirt on. I don't care. I just love my overalls. And welcome to the chat. I am kind of doing one of those things where I do my preaching first. I'm going to do a little bit more talking, and then kind of maybe get to Q&A stuff afterwards. But I do welcome you into the chat, and I'm happy to see you, and welcome to the Midnight Diner. But yes, we're talking about emotional lows and how I was in one over the Aquarius full moon lunation. And so I didn't know what was happening, during the emotional, but then when I kind of crawled out and was able to, because I can't be on my phone, I can't do anything. So when I crawled out and I was like, okay, let me see what's actually happening. I actually took screenshots, because I was like, I've got to show this on my stream. I don't know if anybody knows what the Schumann resonance is, but what oops, Well, if you want to see a photo of me in Mexico, got sirens. Maybe we got Mexico energy here. But there was a phone booth without a phone. I just was like, oh, am I supposed to teleport through the line? I don't know what I'm just stupid. Anyway, Schumann resonance. You're looking at two. This was what was happening during what sent me into the emotional low. And it's not always Schumann resonance related, and I'm going to explain what that is in just a second. But again, sometimes, okay, we'll just go into what the fucking Schumann resonance is. Is Schumann that what you just saw is like a man named Schumann discovered what we call the heartbeat of the earth. And so it's kind of like the hertz of it's like the basic frequency of earth. And it's usually around 8 hertz. It's like 7.8, whatever the fuck, something like that. And so that's kind of like background baseline blue, very calm, like whatever. And when you see those white spikes of energy, that is those are massive spikes of high frequency energy. And so that is the type of energy that purges out the density and the darkness and some of the stuff that we're like getting rid of. And I know I'm speaking about this in spiritual terms, but obviously there's also a scientific term. Like the Schumann resonance has something to do with like the ionosphere and the lightning strikes and the this and that. And that particular, there's resonance measurement things all over the world, but that particular one that I just showed you is from Tomsk, Russia. There's a space weather observatory there, and that's the most famous one. People use those readings, and so there's some in Italy. You can make your own Schumann resonance, because so it's kind of like localized, like that particular Schumann resonance. That's what's being recorded in Tomsk, Russia. And so it's not like we're over in America, am I going to feel that all the time? Not necessarily, but sometimes these things are so universal because the energy hitting us is just like affecting fucking everyone. And it's usually not prolonged like that. Like all that white that you were saying, it's like we had a blast of energy that lasted almost practically 48 hours. And then like we got a little bit of a break, and then like it was like nonstop barrage of like insane fucking which was purging a lot of our density and like old habits and old patterns. Like this is what I think of when I see that energy. And so things were just like getting rooted out of me and like flushing massively. And I know I talked to my last stream about how there's a lot of ancestral purging going on right now. And that just means, the stuff that you've inherited, from past lifetimes, but also your family line. If you don't believe in past lives, it's like your family, you inherit trauma and belief systems and behaviors and all kinds of things from your family and society and all that stuff. And all that is purging. And for me, I am purging like, scarcity, lack, fear, just all kind toxic empathy, all the rescuer wound. I mean, just it's all coming out. And so I know what these things are by now, but like, man, I got sent into that low. And I did crawl out of it enough to make a video for TikTok. I was like, listen, if anyone else is going through this, and that's the thing, like I said this in my video, I'm like, it doesn't always affect people in that way. Like one, you might not even feel it. And you just, because sometimes I don't, I'll see the Schumann and I'll be like, oh, look at all those spikes. But I'm not feeling it today or whatever. And other times, it gives me energy. I'll see those spikes. I'm like, no wonder it feels like crack energy. And I'm like doing a lot of stuff. And I'm like, so it hits everybody differently. And so maybe you were super energized and this was like, I don't know, whatever, 2 weeks ago or whatever. But anyway, so I made that video, and there were a lot of people who commented on that video and they were like, oh yeah, I've been feeling this and that. So, I did step up and put my face on camera. I wore sunglasses because, man, girl, I did not look super pretty. I looked haggard as fuck. I felt haggard. I was like, I could film this video if I put my sunglasses on. And so I did that. Anyway, so if you want to see that, that's on, although it just explains what I just fucking explained to you. So anyway, but follow me on TikTok because I do, post some cool shit every once in a while that doesn't get on these streams. So anyway, it was a rough, gnarly, I punched a hole in my wall, and that's not typical behavior for me, but also it's not like I've I've wanted to pound on and okay, at the last second, I was going to punch it with my hand, with my knuckles. And at the last second, I remembered I worked with a girl at the library who had to have surgery on her broken bones in her hand because she tried to punch a wall. And I was like, okay. So then I switched and I was like pounding on the wall like this instead of with my knuckles. And so I just went straight through the fucking, and I was screaming at everything. I mean, I felt like I was screaming out lifetimes of rage and frustration, just like so much anger that was just, I don't know, it just all came out. And so, I'm the first person to tell other people, like I say, just throw tantrums. I am a proponent of tantrums. It really moves the energy out of you and it doesn't let it get stuck. And right now we're working on everything that we've been suppressing, every emotion, everything, all the anger we've swallowed over the years, whatever. It's like that is coming out because we've packed it down in there and we've stored it in our body. And our body is like, we don't have room for that shit anymore. We're going to store these things on the cloud, basically, which is kind of like the Akashic records. It's like not forgetting the bad shit that happened and the trauma and like, whatever. We're not forgetting it, but we're not storing it in our bodies. It's like our bodies are a computer and the Akashic records are like an external hard drive. And it's like, you don't want to junk up your computer, laptop, or, desktop or whatever with a whole bunch of stuff. You can store it and organize it and like access it when you're ready on the cloud in the Akashic records. And so that's what we're in the middle of doing. But we feel all of that as it comes out of our system. And it feels like I literally felt like I was purging demons from my DNA. And I know that sounds dramatic and, whatever, but that's kind of what is happening. It's all this darkness. It's all this everything that's just been swallowed and in the subconscious. And like, we got to feel it to heal it. And that's what we're in the process of doing. So I did not enjoy that Aquarius full moon at all, but I did manage to remind myself to be grateful for the fact that I didn't have a job to go to. And so, yeah, I'm purging out fear and lack. And part of that is like, oh, I don't have a job to go to, so I don't have money and all this stuff. But I was still just like, you know what? At least I can be in my bed and I don't have to be around other people and, whatever. So there's stuff to be grateful for in amongst all the bullshits, but it's just been kind of, it's just been a lot. And hopefully you haven't been feeling that and it's great. And you had a lot of energy or whatever. So that's the shit that was happening over the Aquarius lunation. And then we get to the Virgo new moon that just happened yesterday. And I knew the eclipse portal was open. I knew something was going to happen. And what happened, I don't want to write a story about how bad things have to happen or whatever, but I could feel, because that Aquarius full moon and the emotional low I was in, and it was so bad and whatever. And I was like, you got to I know these things. Like, I know you got to have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough kind of thing. And so I knew that that's what was happening, but it's still kind of hard to go through it. But the Virgo new moon, basically what happened is there's been some mixed messages. And so I was real frustrated, a couple days before the Virgo new moon, because, there's things that I know I'm supposed to be doing to get, not just my school, the stream school part, like up and running and moving, which I'm doing what I need to do there. But there's also stuff with my farm and the earth school part of this that I know I need to be doing. And there's like avenues that I can see that I'm supposed to be working with. Like there's a grant for wildlife rehabilitation, and then when I called that guy to like make an appointment to see how we could like enroll my farm in that and all kinds of everything. He was telling me about this awesome program that was like, oh, it'll pay out double and this and that. So I was like, oh, wow. And he was making sure, he was like, I'll work with you to make sure that nothing you do for my program impacts your eligibility for this other program once that other program gets approved. So I was like, yes, I'm going to have like all this income from like passive, and moving my farm back to regenerative practices, all that kind of stuff. And then I had the guy come out and it was fine. But it didn't feel like, so he came out the couple days before the new moon. And it was like, I didn't quite feel, he was like, it didn't feel like I was doing much. It was like all these things that he was suggesting to do, they were great. But I was like, I don't have the money to do the things. Like, you have to put money up front to, buy the wildflower seeds or whatever, or like you have to have a tractor to disc up the fields to plant the wildflowers, like all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, so maybe this is just a meeting to kind of be like, get the stuff in order, whatever. But then he was also telling me that the program he had told me about, the one that pays out double, that they were expecting to be approved, that's been cut from the budget. And so I'm sitting here just like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do then? Like, there's just been a whole lot of like, I've talked about this on so many of my streams where it feels like, 2.5 steps back, 2 steps back, 2.5 steps forward. So that's what it's been there's so much turbulence this year where it's like, even when I feel like I'm going backwards, I'm like, okay, I know it's not really backwards, but it feels backward. It's just really been super frustrating. And so that happened where I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not supposed to be doing this farm thing. Like, I just was sitting there not completely defeated, but just like, okay, well, here's another roadblock. Am I just supposed to fucking wait some more? I'm like so frustrated. And then after literally 2 hours or whatever after that guy left, I was hanging out with my friend and I discovered that my extra freezer, just a full, you can have a chest freezer. Like, I have one from Costco. It's so nice and it's clear drawers. It's just like a standing freezer. And it's just, I'm so glad I bought that. I bought it last year, whatever. It failed. And I had to throw out over $1,000 worth of food. I just sat there like, okay, I knew something was going to happen and I knew it was going to trigger the stuff that I'm working on purging, which is the fear, the scarcity, the lack. I was just telling my friend how grateful I was that I had a full freezer of food to get through the winter, and the thing is with that, it's like, I wasn't going into the freezer. I was hoarding it. I was scared to eat that stuff because, like, what if I need it later? And it's like, bitch, eat it now, so, and it's just one of those things where these things happen for a reason. And I know my brother has offered to do a lot of really amazing things to help me through this. And so I know I have support. And so I know I'm okay. And the thing is, even if he hadn't like offered to help me through some of this stuff, I still know that some solution is going to come to me, and that like the universe has my back. Like, this is just all the triggers that we're going through right now. And as a collective, you can see it out in the collective too, where leadership and the media, like, religion, all the people, everything is just so cartoonishly like cartoon villain shit kind of stuff. And so I know these things like that, what happened, like losing an entire freezer full of food, like that's cartoon villain shit. It's like, are you gonna buy in to the fear again? Are you gonna not trust that everything's okay, whatever? And it's like, I knew, around eclipse time, things are taken away so that the new better stuff can come in. And so I'm like, okay, I really just had to mourn. And I'm still sort of it's not that I'm in shock, but like, I just am in this place where like, what's the point? Yeah, what is the fucking point? Like, I know there is a point, but when you're in these just spaces where shit keeps happening and you're like, okay, well, what the fuck am I even doing? And so for me, I've been feeling extremely useless. Like, and I'm the first person to tell people, you gotta rest. The revolution is rest, and resting more than you think you even quote unquote should, because we have these ideas of like, well, if you're having a bad day, it's okay to have a bad day, or maybe a few bad days in a row, like whatever. But if you have any more than a few bad days in a row, or like whatever the arbitrary cutoff process is for grieving or depression or whatever, it's like, well, then, what are you really doing? Why don't you should be coming back to work, like being productive, like, all that stuff. And so I have that program stuff where I'm like I was in bed for most of that week following the Aquarius new moon, and I had an extreme amount of guilt and upset and anxiety in my body, thinking like I'm not doing anything. And I knew I kept getting messages that it's time to rest. I'm literally, I just feel like I'm under construction. So all of this makes total sense. But the program's telling me it's not safe to rest. They're so fucking annoying, and they're still here, and that's okay. Like I can observe them, and I don't have to allow them to drive the bus, but I I don't know. I just kind of like, what's the fucking point? And then like, of the roadblocks for the farm stuff. And that's the other thing is like, I understand again, like there are, when you face roadblocks, it's in the name of building something even better than what your, ego mind can think up. And so I understand that all these redirections and all the other things, they're setting up the stage for like something even more amazing than I could have planned kind of thing. But it's when you've been sitting in these initiations, like I've been sitting in for the last few years, I just am like, oh my God, I just don't. Anyway, so if you're in that process or in that phase of like, what is the point? That's the breakdown before the breakthrough. And, it's to get you to sort of part of the process, part of the creation process is like some of those dark nights or like the emotional lows or like the the breakdowns where it's like the dark times before like the creativity just starts to really bloom. And so that's kind of what's happening right now, where we've been planted, and as seeds we're growing out or whatever, but it takes some effort for the seed to break through the casing and to move up through the dense soil and come up through all this stuff. And so it can be looked at as a very dark time, but it's just part of the process, and boredom is a part of the process. And all the things that we try to fight, it's like there's a sacredness to the boredom slash what's the pointness of all this, because I have felt very bored. And it feels weird saying that because I wasn't allowed to say that growing up. My mom was like, my sister and I were not allowed to say we were bored because there's always something to do. There's always something to whatever. So don't, whatever. And so, and that is true. But also I've come to realize in the last little cycles of awakening, it's like, boredom is necessary. You can't just be on all the time. It's kind of like how retrograde periods are necessary, where you review things and refine things and all that. It's like there's a sacred part of being bored, so you've released everything, and then you can be like, whoa, and kind of like start climbing the heights again or whatever. So I'm keeping these things in mind, and I'm saying these things to you, but also I needed to hear them as well. So I think I'm mostly, at this point, I feel like I'm just mostly talking to myself. And I do also hope that it helps, other people out there going through all of this. And that's one of the things that I've been feeling for a while, especially August, and especially that whole Schumann resonance thing where I was in the low and all this stuff. And I've been feeling like, and I talked about this last stream, where I feel like there's just a massive, massive amount of energy flooding through all of us, like flooding through the grids, coming at us from the sun, from the, wherever the fuck else stuff comes, information comes from, and all these alignments. And anyway, so I've been feeling, because I can feel how things like, an old version of me would have felt very floaty and unanchored. And part of me does still feel a little unanchored, where I'm just like, I don't, which is why I kind of describe it as like feeling like I'm under construction, because I just don't, what am I tethered to? I don't know. But I feel also very solid in myself. And, I know that I am tied and anchored in, in a good way, solid, steadying way, connected to the earth. And so I do root into that, and I don't drown in the energies, but I can feel other people drowning in the energies. And it's kind of like they're splatting their emotions everywhere, like people are like lashing out or yelling or like energy sucking from other people because they need external validation, and they don't really know what's happening because they're also feeling untethered internally. And it's like when you don't have a strong sense of self, or connection to the earth. And like spiritual muscles are very important at this time because there's a lot of stuff trying to tell you that life is unsafe and everything is shitty and whatever. And then like on top of that, your whole life might be crumbling where it's like, your job is changing, or you don't want to do the things you're doing every day, or the relationship you're in. There's so many things that are just getting blown up right now. And it's in the name of a good, fresh, beautiful start. But it, and this new moon in Virgo was in a square, which is a tense aspect to Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of like lightning strike and very sudden changes. And so when I suddenly discovered that I had no food in my freezer, that I had to throw it all away, I was like, that's a very Uranian experience. So astrologer good examples, very astrologer good. And so, my brother was there. He was like, don't worry, just don't worry. And so even though I had that support, getting a little, I thought I got all the emotions out, but okay. Anyway, in spite of having all the support, it still brings up, I think most of us have trouble accepting help because we've been trained. It's like this hyper individualism, at least in America. I mean, I know we kind of all have this everywhere to a certain degree, where you got to take care of yourself and you got to do and I've just always felt like a loser if I had to get help from other people. And again, it's kind of like the being depressed thing, or the moving through some of the heavier emotions, where it's like there's an arbitrary, you can have a couple bad days, but not, whatever. It's like maybe you can accept help for a couple things, but after a certain point, you just feel like a leech or whatever. That I'm talking for myself. So I keep saying you, but I mean me. Where it's like I feel, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong, or else why would I have to, rely on someone else? Anyway, and the thing is, like, I also just know, and it's so uncomfortable. I know that I'm in a position where I'm being forced, over the past few years, I've been forced into receiving mode. And I understand the higher perspective here is that I have overgiven throughout all of my life, and it's time for me. It's time for the balance sheets. We're balancing the sheets and all kinds of the energies, and Mother Earth herself is in a very strong rebalance period. That's part of the ancestral purging, like all this stuff. And so the energies need to come back into balance. And because, again, as I've said, I know I'm here to be this like lighthouse for my community, where I am supposed to have a lot of resources, money included, to help other people, to fund my friends' dreams and to give them support. And like, not just my friends, I want to do more for the community and stuff. But until I can get established with, again, where's the fucking money? I'm sitting here just like, all the things that I've been wanting to do for years and years and years, I'm still waiting because I don't have the money that I need. And this is the delicate balance of following your mission. It's like, when do you surrender and when do you take action? And I haven't surrendered. Like for the stream, I was going to be like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to fucking do this anymore. Not anymore, but like, I was like, well, what's the point? I'm I don't have anything to say. And so and then when I got the message, like, you're calling this episode, what's the point? And you're going into some of these, heavier, darker, or whatever experiences. I still didn't want to do it. I was like, well, fuck you. I don't feel like talking. I don't want to show up for other people. I don't want to, whatever. And it's like, well, you're not necessarily showing up for other people. You're showing up because it's your mission. And here's the thing about me and what's the point? Well, I'm here to do things, and there is no fucking force in this universe that is going to keep me from fucking doing that. And it's all the doubt I run into, all of the triggers and the threshold guardians of like, are you sure you don't want to fall back into helplessness? And your old patterns of shoving away people so that they don't see you cry, or they don't know you need help, and all that stuff. Like I have to be a model for my community. I cannot just say one thing and not do it myself. And so I've been forced into these situations where it's like we're in that rebalancing period where now I can talk about this phase of my life where I've had to face a lot of fear and a lot of scarcity and lack, and how I moved through it. And mine is just a template. It's not like the be all end all, one size fits all for everybody's, follow my advice or you're going to fail. That's not, this is just my own perspective, my own journey. And so anything that helps you, awesome. If stuff doesn't help you, fucking leave it. Like, just like take what resonates, leave the rest. And so it's just been a prolonged period of time for me in this forced receiving thing, because not only have I overgiven in the past, all of my life, I will be in a position to be generous and, not overgive in an unhealthy way, but like I'm giving generously. And so right now I have to receive, or it's just, it doesn't work if I'm not balanced in myself. And that's kind of the point, is to sort of get into that 0 point. But it really sucks exercising a muscle, the receiving muscle, that I have just never been able to do very well. And so if you're in a position where you've been forced to receive from other people, I feel your pain. I feel your pain, but just know that this is part of the rebalancing, and that it's okay. And there are soul contracts involved with people who are giving you things. Like, they agreed to that at a soul level. And so our human selves are very uncomfortable with that kind of stuff, with receiving stuff or whatever, because we're stuck in the perspective of like, oh, this is, and all the programs that are running telling us it's bad and you're not safe and whatever. But at a soul level, it's like, I literally signed up to help you. Will you just fucking let me help you, bitch? So I'm trying to remember, I'm doing my best to like just stay in that energy of like, I understand that this is a thing, that's in my best interest and in the highest good. And so I will continue to receive. But I just wanted to talk about how sometimes it's really low when you get, but like when you're in the lows and you think you're a failure because whatever, and it's like, well, fucking go get a job then. And it's like, I have to, which I've told myself like a million fucking times. I'm just like, and I can't do it. That this is how I know I'm being forced into this, just forced rest, where like we won't have to go into my job history or whatever, but like I know when things, that's what I mean about surrendering versus taking action. It's like every time, like I'm surrendering to this receiving thing, but also I'm like, I don't want to be not doing what I should do. It's like, if I'm supposed to have a job, I'm going to fucking go out and get a job. Like I said, there is no force, nothing can keep me from doing what my higher self is telling me to do. Like, that is, I have kicked my own ass 100,000 times, probably more, and I fall a lot, like these emotional lows I go into, and what's the points phases of all this. Like, I go into this all the fucking time, and I'm just sitting here like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to do any of this stuff. Like, I don't even want to be here anymore. And I know I can't not be here. Like, that's part of the thing where I got to say it, or I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I have to just get out some of that emotion, even though I know that is exactly what I want to do. I want to be here. It is a privilege of a fucking lifetime to be on this earth doing what I'm doing. And part of that is just being. I am a human being, not a human doing, as the famous meme. I love that meme. I don't even know who made it or whatever, but that's exactly, and that's not to say I don't want to do things, but I don't want to do things in a way that someone else tells me to. I want to do my things, and my authority is my own higher self. And so nothing's going to keep me from doing that. And so not even myself, like I fall into these tantrums all the time, and I'm just like, I'm not fucking doing it anymore. And I have periods of time where I just have to fucking give up. And then I pick myself back up. And I keep fucking going. And I've never lost anything I've actually truly missed. I did have to really grieve the waste of this fucking food that got spoiled. I was like, oh my gosh. Even if I hadn't been worried about money and my own supplies and all that stuff, it was just like, wow, all this really beautiful, because I buy myself good things like organic stuff and like local meat from the butcher. Like, oh my God. And then also, I'm not a saint. I have, the cheese dips and the fucking chicken nuggets and like, frozen meals that I need. Like, I'm not a kitchen person. I'm really just don't love cooking and taking care of myself. And so, frozen meals is kind of where it's at. Oh, BG Dominions. Okay. BG Dominion's back. I'm not going to. I've actually answered that question of yours before on a couple other streams, and so I'm not going to be going into personal stuff right now like that. Like I said, you can book a personal session with me and pay my hourly rate, but this is going to be a stream for me to talk about the shit that I am going through and the energies for right now. And so if you have questions or original thoughts about what I'm saying, cheers, I'll take that. Otherwise, if you're not really digging what I'm saying, buddy, what are you doing here? Honestly, like, why are you here if nothing I say actually resonates or you're interested in any of it? So I'm going to be moving on and I will check the chat later at the end of this thing in case anybody has any questions for the Q&A afterwards. But yeah, so that's kind of what's been happening. I'm in the what's the point part of everything. And if you are too, it's okay. It passes. But right now it's not fucking great. So I'm just going to take a second to breathe because I'm just tired of the shit. The Mercury clears its shadow, its post shadow tomorrow, the 25th. I'm clear of the goddamn Mercury retrograde, shadows, all things, energies. And this Mercury retrograde, I know I've talked about it before, but it has given me a revisiting of every fucking wound I've ever had. And it has shown me also, like, wow, look how far I've come. And I'm really proud of myself. But the things that it was uncovering for me, and I think other people were feeling this too, it was just like hit after hit after hit. And it was to clear everything out. But because, like I said, I found passive aggressive tendencies of my own that were mirrored back to me from, so I was able to, even though it was through a conflict, it was like, oh, and so it was not a fun thing to go through. I was still able to clear out. I was like, I was like, oh shit, I do that. I don't like that behavior. I would like to not do that. And so it was very, very good for me, but it really just kind of, it was too much. On top of this has been simultaneously the best year of my life because so many awesome things have fucking happened, and also the worst year of my life. And this past Mercury retrograde, for some reason, just was like a really concentrated version, of all that stuff. And yet it was not as bad as the beginning part of this year, where it was just like, I almost left the planet through, especially fucking February, March, April, those months, I made it. And again, I did not lose anything that I missed, because there are versions of me that are currently at rest in the underworld, providing fertilizer for my new growth, that worked really hard to keep me safe, and they are no longer, it's time for them to rest. And so I am this is my dragon woman era. And all of you who are feeling that about themselves, I'm here to encourage. I'm here to encourage you to just really shed that skin. It's like the snake is shedding its skin. My soul aspect also, I'm also part snake or whatever, but like, so not just my snake is shedding skin, my fucking whole dragon self is shedding skin. And that's a big fucking process. And I am grateful for all the progress I have made. And again, I think I was supposed to come here to do this stream because I talk constantly about celebrating wins for other people. And I'm like, okay, you need to also celebrate your wins. And seeing myself go through, like when that conflict happened and I was able to see some of the passive aggressive behavior that I have a tendency to do, and I was able to like catch it. And now it's not to say that I may never do that again, because maybe I will, but like at least I'm aware of it now. And, if for some reason I'm in the throes of a tantrum and I do pull out the bad behavior or, like whatever, I'm going to have more, I will move through that quicker and catch things sooner and like be able to hear maybe harsh or jagged truths about myself, if I need to. But I usually can catch these things. I'm like, I'm in such a pattern of changing like fucking everything that I just kind of, I'm I don't know. It used to be that I couldn't hear any, like, I would try to find every single thing wrong with myself first so nobody else could tell me, because hearing any kind of feedback or criticism would just feel like a knife wound to myself. And I have Mars retrograde in Virgo, so like it's constant internal like knife, all kinds of shit. So it's I don't really know why I'm going off on any of this stuff, but I like I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. Ah, and BG Dominion with the insult. That's why you have 0 viewers, no interaction with the viewers. Okay, bud. Like I said, if you don't like what I'm doing, why are you here? There's plenty of other people chatting or playing games or whatever else. I think you're just a little pissed. I'm not giving you free advice for your whatever. And so, not sorry. I'm really just not sorry for being myself. This is how I am. And if you don't like it, I want everybody to be here because they want to be here. And if you don't, then I'm sending you lots of love and peace along your way. And I also just encourage you to find your own inner, your own inner originality and your own voice, like use your voice to tell your stories and to make your own stream or do whatever else you love doing. And you can insult me all you want. You really can. But like, I don't care what you think of me because I think very highly of myself. And I have a lot of high quality people in my life who also think highly of me, and I don't need them to necessarily. I enjoy it, and it's very good validation for when I do go into lows and all that stuff. But I have my own back. I know myself. I know I am, I know what I have is worth a lot. And so if you don't like it, again, peace be with you. Right? Anyway, so we're I did also hear that August was going to feel like 2 months in one, and it kind of has. And more opportunities, more choice points to, you know, um to commit to your highest timeline, and the split is getting wider and wider for people who have chosen love and for those who have chosen fear, and it's just going to continue to be, it's just going to widen and widen and widen until we're finally in like separate realities, really. And so I don't know, it's a really messy time, but we're like September is going to bring us some real interesting developments. And I know I've gotten myself through, like losing the freezer full of food or whatever, like another opportunity to show myself how far I've come, where I knew yes, I had to cry and get everything out. And I still might cry a little bit more because like I very quickly got into a place where I was like, okay, I knew something was going to happen. So it's this, it really fucking sucks. And, I know that whatever I'm losing, something better is coming in. And so I was proud of myself for how I handled that. All right, let's see what we got. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was such a person, not in a good way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Again, why the need to comment? Like, I don't know. Are you looking for a fight? I don't really understand. I'm not looking for a fight. I am just being honest and authentic. And I think that maybe that triggers people. So, okay. Okay. Um, Anyway, I'm gonna just if you have anything else to say, I probably won't respond. But if you have original thoughts and actual questions about some of the material I'm going through, what are you going through right now? Like, what are people in the comments? Like, I don't know who watches these streams. So I get up here and I talk about stuff that I'm going through. And I know that that is for people who are also going through something similar or who have other people around them who are going through something similar. These are messages. I am just a channel for source consciousness, for God consciousness. And, I'm speaking my perspective and speaking my truth. And you either resonate with me or you do not. And sometimes sometimes you resonate and then you need a break and then, whatever. So you can comment on my character all you want, but you're not going to convince me that I'm a bad person because I'm not. And you know what? If I'm used to being the villain. I'm really used to being, that's the fifth line in human design. If you have a fifth line, you are the mirror. You are the karmic mirror for other people, for everyone in your life. And because you are a mirror, people rarely see you. Like for me, so I'm talking to myself. It's like people can't see me. They see what they need to see to get triggered to deal with their own shit. And so I can either be pedestalized because I'm saying all these amazing things and, it's really resonating. You're like, oh my gosh, you're just such an amazing, that it can be like, if you fall into wanting to be pedestalized, that's how you become a cult leader. But as a fifth line, I have been pedestalized and also villainized so much that it's just kind of like, okay, you're going to see what you need to see in me, which is for your benefit. So if you're pissed at me for whatever reason, take a look at why you're pissed at me, what it is that I'm saying, and what it is that maybe you need to kind of look at in yourself that you don't really want to. And I've had plenty of hard conversations with myself. Like, I've had to look at a lot of gnarly behavior that I didn't realize I had. So anyway, all right. Like I said, BG, I did address that very same question about the devil and demons appearing in your dreams. I addressed that, I think, 2 or 3 times. So we're not gonna. If I do you offend people when they share their struggles, I wouldn't come here. But now I know. Okay. So anyway, I knew that was. You know what? For some reason, I knew that was coming this time. I could feel it in the ethers. I was like, especially last night. I was like, you know what? I think it's going to be a wrap up of this storyline for the trick. And again, this person in my chat is a mirror for me. And that's one of the other things this Mercury retrograde brought up, like including pre and post shadow stuff. It brought up a lot of things that I needed to start getting used to if I really want to be more visible like I am right now. And so, you know, I'm getting people in my chat doing this thing for me because it's not always going to be just my friends, it's not always going to be people who are, and people have, there's so many different reasons why people would be here or, the stuff that I needed to deal with being visible. I even did have a close friend who was triggered by something that I had said, again, publicly, because this is not, I'm getting used to talking about these things in public. Sometimes I keep a lot of the shit to myself. So the fact that I'm sharing it out loud, it's kind of like the universe is like, here you go. These are the kinds of hiccups you're going to run into, or these are the kinds of energies you're going to be running into, and how do you deal with them? And do you stay in your center? Do you stay in your authenticity, or do you kind of freeze and fawn and, do your old patterns and try to please other people? I've been getting a lot of that. And so I'm really looking forward to being clear of that energy. And it's not, this stuff kind of happens. It's not like a transit is going to save us. It's not like this, Mercury retrograde finally fucking ending and that's, I'm going to finally be fine. No, but it is, okay, it's time for the old hell to leave. Well, fresh hell, please. Or whatever, it's just being totally ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm trying to think of other messages. I think the energy that I'm feeling right now for the collective, so if anyone needs to hear this, we're in a stormy sea, kind of, and we know the shore is somewhere close, but we can't quite get there. It's like it's very foggy and very stormy. And so if you're in this, because I feel the same way, I feel like I'm in this foggy, stormy, I don't see the way forward. There's no help. I'm all alone, whatever. Um, there's going to be a surprising source of help. Like something is coming to lead you to shore. And I'm saying this to myself as much as to anyone else. So something is coming to lead you to shore, but it will be surprising, like a surprising source, probably. And I don't really know what else. I don't think that there's too many specifics coming in with that message about, you know, it's just going to be a surprise. Expect the unexpected, but also expect it to actually help you. So something, whoever needs to hear that, if you're in the storm, help is on its way, but just be open to it being from a source that is not the usual avenue. These are just okay. I'm just thinking. I'm just like letting messages come through because I think I am going to probably wrap this stream up. Belief systems. I actually drew a couple cards because I wanted to just. I knew I needed more messages. I knew more messages needed to come out, so I was like, okay, we'll just pass on whatever's coming in. Belief systems that. So we're also in a very internal time right now. Very seeker energy, like you're seeking answers and seeking direction or whatever, clarity. You're asking yourself a lot of questions, and I think that's probably contributing to the storminess that we feel ourselves in. Like, where's the shore? I need to fucking get to shore. I've been out at sea forever. Like, somebody fucking help me. Kind of shit. And I think a lot of it is kind of coming through with these, like, the belief systems and the patterns. Like, what do you believe about yourself? And I know last stream I talked about, or a couple streams, whatever, I talked about what will you allow, and what if you allowed yourself to believe something completely different, either about yourself or the world or the bad things that are happening? Because look, again, with this, there's a lot of trickster energy in the air. Snakier. I've been talking about trickster energy forever, and it's not going to go away. And it's to get us on our highest timeline. But like, for example, with that trickster energy, like a good example about belief systems kind of shifting or whatever. I've always had trouble with trickster energy. It's always felt cruel to me. And when I was in my emotional low after the Aquarius full moon, I was so fucking sick of trickster energy. I was like, if this bullshit, because all it was doing was feeling so cruel, and I couldn't see that there's like a lighter side to that trickster energy. There's like a fun aspect, and Mercury retrograde. When Mercury goes retrograde, it really plays the trickster a lot more, or like it can be more. It can be experienced like that. It's just like he's kind of the retrograde period happens when it's like, okay, there's going to be some solution or some idea. You need to think outside of the box. Believe something outside of the box, and whether it's something you thought maybe you believed it wasn't possible, like I don't know, whatever belief systems you have, those are in the midst. You're questioning everything, and keep out for the lighthouses because or keep a lookout for the lighthouses because it's going to be an unexpected source. And I just remembered one thing I wanted to talk about, like what is the point kind of stuff. It's like tied into that, and like maybe the belief system kind of triggered me to think that, because, or to remember that I wanted to talk about that because how do I want to address the I forget which stream it was, maybe number 8 or something, where I first started talking about how I view all of this as a game. And I know that the word game is it can feel a little flippant. And so I'm not like, this is what I'm talking about with the trickster energy and kind of like thinking outside the box, or like just doing something completely, the stuff that you take the most seriously. What if it's not that serious? That's what trickster energy tries to get you to do. It's like wherever you're stuck in your belief systems, you really gotta that what trickster energy does is like forces you out of this stuff. So like all the times I got triggered during Mercury retrograde, and like the low I was in and the hole I was punching in the wall and like all kinds of stuff, it's like it's there for you to find a different solution, to find a wacky, you know, have fun with it. Like a kid, and I mentioned this in another stream, it's like when a kid has a new toy, it's just like so fun. It's like, okay, you got to figure out the puzzle pieces and this and that, or, you know, whatever. And when you, that's trickster energy. When you approach something with like a lighthearted, like a, you know, like this roadblock, and when I was running into all the roadblocks and stuff, you know, a couple days ago with like the farm stuff and everything, it was like, I knew that trickster energy was like, you have an opportunity to get paid so much money. And it's like, actually, no, you don't. I'm like, well, it might be something else. And, you know, so you're kind of constantly redirected into something that breaks you out of that stuckness. And so the more you meet these trickster energies with like, okay, I guess we'll see what happens if I maybe try this, you know, like, so when I'm talking about it being a game, that is the kind of language that can trigger people to be like, what do you mean this is a game? This is very serious. and people are getting hurt and, like, you know, all these things. And I know I did sort of address that, where I was like, you know, you can play a game like Animal Crossing, or you can play a game like, you know, fucking Call of Duty, and those are just different experiences. And so it's not that a suffering game is bad, it's just that it feels bad to our human selves, but at a soul level, we're just learning like a whole lot from all this stuff. But also, when I say game, it's not that serious. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm talking to myself with all this, and I just have come out from a low, and everything feels like it's going wrong, and I'm in this like, what's the fucking point kind of thing. And so that's like, when I say it's a game, you know, I'm trying to tell myself and break myself out of these tendencies to be super uptight about stuff and super like in the doldrums, and, you know, where it's like more and more often we're getting these messages like, you know, it's going to be okay. And here we are crying over spilled milk kind of stuff. So I don't want to, and that's just the first part of that, you know, that's part of me talking about how this is a game, but it doesn't mean that a game isn't serious and that I don't take it seriously. And so I, like I was mentioning earlier in this very stream, I'm like, nothing can fucking take me away from my own conviction and my own stubbornness in doing my mission here on Earth. Like, I take that very fucking seriously. And also I know that at a higher perspective, this is just one of those experiences. And one of the reasons we love this matrix so much, and that we built it, and, you know, all the Earth school that we're in, all that kind of stuff, it's like going to the gym and you put heavy weights on the bars to lift it, or like you're pushing yourself to run a marathon, or, you know, like whatever you're pushing yourself. And that's what a soul does playing these games, or having these experiences, like going like it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto. You can be a bad dude in Grand Theft Auto and you're still playing it correctly, kind of stuff. Like, these are the open your mind to the ways that you can live and experience this game. Fuck around and find out. And again, it doesn't mean you don't have to take it seriously, but like, just kind of, again, the belief systems, I feel like all this stuff was supposed to come out for that message, just to kind of whatever. Interesting, because like alone time is also coming through with this stuff, and the isolation that I've been talking about, and how people are kind of splatting all over themselves, all over people outside of themselves, because feeling very unmoored at this time. And so if I kind of highly recommend to people, if you find yourself being, if you're getting splat upon, sometimes you can't avoid it because you either live with people or you're at work or like whatever, but that's the kind of thing that you may be experiencing. And if you are, just hopefully keep some grace in your heart for like choosing to just see it as people are in pain and they have no idea what to do, but also don't put up with shit. Like, anyway, belief systems. Alone time. Sorry. Okay. Yes, we're back into alone time. I encourage people who are finding, and I don't know how to say this nicely, but I did mention last time Like if things are if you're running into roadblocks, or like if things are not going well for you, or, that kind of stuff. And it's not to, again, I've had some bad shit happen to me, and I know I'm still doing, like, I'm not, so use your discernment on this stuff, but maybe you are the energy vampire and you really need, and you're the one splatting on other people, and you need to just, if you're not getting responses from your friends about things you normally, like if if you're venting to your friends or whatever, and you're not really getting a lot of feedback, or I'm just trying to think of examples that are, I can't really think of much right now. So I'm kind of flailing on that, but I'm just kind of like, if you're running into things where you're just like, why am I not getting the support I need? Or, whatever, just like, look at where you maybe, where you might be the energy vampire. And if you are, it's okay. There's no judgment around that. I have played the energy vampire plenty of fucking times. And the way that I was able to see that I was doing that is by getting into my own business, having my alone time, like the 12th house. So I was talking about at the early beginning of the stream. The 12th house is the house of isolation and monasteries and kind of spiritual retreats and all that kind of stuff. And so we need to have alone time, and true alone time. And some people might need more than others. Like, I know that I need a shitload of alone time compared to other people. So it's not to say that, you have to do as much as me, but we all require alone time, and we are moving into group consciousness. So we're going to not really be alone anymore. We're going to be feeling what other people feel. We're going to be like what animals are feeling. We're going to be able to feel the energy of the trees. Like, we're not going to be alone. And so maybe kind of enjoy your alone time, which is what I try to tell myself when I'm feeling like completely unsupported. It's like, but guess what? You at least have your own bubble of energy, and you don't hear anyone else's thoughts right now. And that's kind of coming online right now. Like, I feel like I can hear other people's thoughts to a certain degree, but right now I'm just like, I'm blessedly not in contact with anyone else's stuff. And I can just, I don't want it. It's so loud already with the stuff that I can hear and feel or whatever. It's like, I need my alone time. So take the alone time, because this is like, I'm just, and take this however you want, because I know a lot of these messages come through pretty early. Like, I see the future so much that, like, that's what I talk about, but it takes the time it takes to kind of roll through linear time wise. So, bookmark this and come back to it when you're just like, oh, she did warn me about this kind of stuff. But we require alone time, and do the best you can. Like, I know there's not, maybe you don't have a lot of money or whatever to go out and get a hotel room, or like whatever. I'm trying to, it's not always feasible to pay a lot of money to get to alone time, but there are ways to do it. Like when I lived near a park, I would go and just sit under a tree. And yes, there are other people around, but it's not like you're not living with them, or you're not like, they're not in your space. Like, you are having your own bubble of space to kind of really lean into what you need to listen to, your higher self, and your body is going to tell you everything you need to know. And so it's when you get into those quiet contemplative places where you are all alone and no one else's energy is around you, do the best you can to have that alone time within the constraints that you have. And these are very Saturnian lessons. Like, as much as I am very Jupiter ruled, my Pisces rising, Jupiter ruled self, and the Jupiter's expansion, and like, let's support everybody, blah, blah, blah. I'm also very Saturnian, and because I have heavy Aquarius placements, and it's like those containers that Saturn puts us in, it's like severe limitation, severe isolation a lot of times, and it's excavating all kinds of, Saturn is reality, and the borders and the hard nose. It's like, well, what do you have to work with, and what are your dreams, obviously, but like, you got to start here at the foundation. And it can be really painful to be in a Saturn container. And I've been in one, for a while now, because of the Sati Sati, where, the financial squeeze and all kinds of everything. So I've been there, and it's just, Saturn gets a bad rap because it's like the cock block of the universe kind of thing. But he does it to, you come out of a Saturn container feeling like the fucking Hulk, because you're like, you've had so much practice. learning those lessons and sorting through those wounds and like filling in the cracks of building a foundation that's actually going to hold your house and not crumble and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, alone time is coming through as very important. And here's the thing about this kind of stuff and self-care and all that. It's like, it's no longer a luxury, it's a requirement. And you know, there's a lot of shit trying to knock us off balance. And so taking care of your mental health and your physical health to the best of your ability. And again, I'm not saying I'm a fucking saint. I haven't even been on my bike in like 2 fucking weeks. I've done yoga like once. I haven't been drinking water. Like I've been in a really gnarly space where I'm not doing all the things I should be doing. But at the same time, I do them when I can. And I just do the best I can to enjoy the rest I'm getting when I can do that. And whatever. So it's not easy. It's simple, but simple does not mean easy. And so it can be frustrating to hear people be like, well, if you're feeling bad, go outside. I hate when people fucking tell me that, but I also do feel better when I go outside. It's annoying. But again, don't let someone force you to do the things that are healthy for you overboard. Like, yes, I need to be outside, but I'm doing that my way. And that's even if I'm sitting on my front porch step and doing nothing else, I'm not taking a walk in the woods, I'm not doing shit. That's okay. I'm still outside. I'm still breathing in the fresh air. I'm still listening to the bird song. It regulates the nervous system. And that's one of the reasons some of these big resting periods have felt so difficult to me, is because my nervous system is not programmed to think of peace as safe. And so I've really had to do a lot of deprogramming where, like, if I've had a few days of rest, like with the low or whatever, and then I come out of it and it's just like, well, you don't deserve to rest anymore because you're not like super depressed or like, whatever. It's like, yeah, but you're going to keep resting because like the energy is just not there for me to do any of this stuff. So it's do the best you can. This is all just an experiment. And so I give the advice I give because I need to hear it, but I also understand that we only have so many spoons, as we say in the world of people who are depressed all the time. It's like you don't have any spoons for this kind of shit. So anyway, this is just so fast. Like I was going to say, the final message kind of coming through is from the green dragon. I'll just show you the card because I fucking drew it, but the green dragon is one of my fucking favorites. Like, look at the key he's got. And this just feels like, and it basically is like tuning into the secrets of nature. And I was literally just talking about this when I was talking about the alone time and like being in nature, and how I have gotten so much wisdom from the trees, especially when I'm feeling really low. And I was feeling super ashamed and bad about how I was screaming at everything, and oh god, during my life, just like so embarrassed. And the trees are never judging me, and I'm not quite there yet where I can, be like, talk to them outright, where I'm like, sorry about my tantrum kind of thing. But there's nothing to forgive. That's what they keep telling me. It's like, you're the only one beating yourself up, and I this is not to excuse abusive behavior or anything like that, but I wasn't, I'm not saying that I am, but I feel like, when I go into those lows and I need to scream at things, that's why people cannot be around me, because it's not, it just got to come out of me, and it's not a thing that's directed at anyone. I just have to like yell, but again, not wanting. So when the trees get to see me acting like that, and I'm just like super embarrassed or whatever, they're just like, there's nothing to forgive. Like, and even Tim Curry, my cat, she's like she comes around when I'm out of my low, and she'll put her paw on me or whatever, and I'm super embarrassed, and I'm just like, why are you being nice to me when I was just not very nice? And she's like, why would I be upset with you if you're in pain, And again, I this is not like, if you're putting up with abusive situation, that's completely fucking different. This is more of like a purging thing, a more of like the emotional low kind of thing, and where you're self-aware enough to know that I'm not going to treat someone like this. It's that's why I do remove myself. And if someone were there, people have been around me in my lows, and I'm not acting like that. That's why I need alone time, so I can scream. But like, anyway, my point is, like, if it's just, I don't really actually know why I was going. I kind of lost my train of thought on that. But the green dragon, the green dragon being alone and being in nature, and the green dragon has like the key that this green dragon has. Whenever I draw this card, I feel like the key that it has, there's knowledge in the key, and he puts the key in my heart and turns it like a key in a lock, and something unlocks in my heart, and then kind of floods my system with like the information. So all the information that's coming from Mother Nature, and like when I talked about the Schumann resonance at the beginning of the stream and how high frequency energy is coming onto the planet, her ley line system that we are all tied to, her energy system, is infusing us with those codes and that new information. And so these Earth is a living library, and the school, it's not a safety school. I think I'm kind of maybe finishing a thought from earlier about the game and like what is the point of all this, and like putting the weights on when you're working out, you put the weights on or push yourself to run or whatever. Earth, when you graduate Earth school, it is a prestigious thing. Like I said, this is not a safety school, and not everybody comes to Earth. And so having access to this experience, to her womb that we're in and experiencing, it's like not everyone gets to do that. And so when other souls from other dimensions and other places and all, whenever they meet an Earth school graduate, they're so impressed by how much we know, by our very being, like, because we work with all this severe limitation and all the, the Earth is just, it's like I said, it's not a fucking safety school. And the richness of the education here, which is another reason why I love this card and like seeing the key and all that stuff. It's just like, because for me, information, like knowledge, it's the key. It's just so, what else is there? Like, you get the knowledge and then you kind of like, you chew on it and you experiment with it and you put it into action, and like, and so we're learning so much on this earth, and so remembering that it is a privilege to be here. It's a privilege of a lifetime. It's an insane period of time, but humanity it's like Earth is this womb, garden, whatever, for the human collective consciousness. Other animals and plants, whatever, we're that too. But like when I'm talking about humanity and its evolution, it's like the stuff that we learn with all this adversity and all this limitation. There's so much wisdom to share with our star family out there, and like the way we talk about the isness and the meaning of life and like the stuff that we've experienced and all kinds of, it's like there's so much richness. And so humanity is in the middle of this evolution where it's kind of becoming, I heard Jordan Crowder talk about this. I love Jordan. I need to maybe link a couple of his videos into my description when I post this on YouTube, because he's on TikTok, he's on fucking Twitter, and Jordan Crowder is his name. And he speaks about all this stuff too, with like really beautiful calmness and like he feel it's like experiential, like you can tell he knows because he's fucking been there, and I just really love his energy. So he's talked about how the rich, where the fuck was I going with this, like the earth and other people learning from us. Oh my gosh, I think well, anyway, I think you get the picture. I'm so fucking annoyed, this fucking perimenopause. But anyway, I'm trying to figure out where the fuck I was with this whole like Jordan Crowder and he calls this a simulator. Like, you hear other people talking about simulation experience, and he's like, that's almost right. And I agree with him. it resonates with me too. This is like a flight simulator for a pilot, where it's like we as oh, that's right. I was talking about okay, sorry. Now I know where I was going with that whole the human collective consciousness, but it's tied into what I'm also talking about. But it's like the simulator theory, where sometimes when you get in the simulator, if you're really in a insane situation, you can forget that you're in a simulator and that it's not real and that you're not crashing the plane, or you're like, whatever. And so that's kind of how this inverted matrix has been. We've been in this simulator where we're practicing the responsible use of power and creation and manifestation, because in the higher frequencies, in the higher dimensions, and elsewhere that's outside of this third dimension, instant manifestation. It's like you think a thing and you manifest it. And so if you're out there thinking all these nightmare thoughts, you're causing nightmares for like your star family and like out in the cosmos. So you come to the simulator on Earth where you don't affect the cosmos. We're kind of like in this little bubble. And so until we learn how to, responsibly manifest reality, then we can graduate the simulation or graduate the simulator. And and this is the thing that I forgot I was talking about tied into this. Jordan Crowder talks about how, and this is from his research and other people he's talked to. So it's where the human collective is becoming a new energy archetype, basically. And I don't quite know all the details of that. I understand it to a certain degree, but I don't understand all the details or like what that's going to look like or, any of that stuff. But we have to be in this simulator in order to get approval. Like when we graduate, we can have this approval from Earth and the cosmos in general that we can go out there and start working with our creative powers and teaching and whatever. So like this is a no joke, no, not a safety school kind of thing. And where what's coming through right now with the energy and all the ley lines activating and all kinds of, like, the dragon ley lines are fully online and have been since the end of last year. And so those are bringing us codes. And so getting into your as quiet as possible, and it doesn't have to be perfect, just do the best you can with the noises that you have around you. Earth is going to tell you where to go next. She's going to ask you to do the things you've agreed to do now that you're here, being a leader. But also your higher self will as well. So you're going to get clarity. You're going to be moved to the places you need to be moved to, but like also that alone time, you got to get in touch with your spirit and what your next step in your soul plan is. And so there's a lot of confusion right now. Mercury's not the only retrograde thing. We've got Saturn and Neptune, and Pluto and all, so it's like the energy shift in September is going to be pretty, I'm just going to say intense. And it doesn't have to be a bad intense. Like I think the first eclipse, the Pisces, it's a full lunar eclipse on the 7th of September. And that may be a little, it's going to be a lot of endings. Okay. It's going to be, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, very major endings happening there. And people, again, you're going to feel this differently, but it's just a lot of endings right now. And so once we move through that fieriness of that eclipse, that first one, perhaps the second one will be bringing in, the support. Like there's an anchor happening now. And again, I can see as much of the future as I can possibly see or whatever, but like, it's just, I'm trying to give the heads up for the energy to not fearmonger, but to just give you what's happening so that as things, like me losing my freezer full of food, I was like, okay, I knew something was coming. I just got to move through. And then you just kind of move through as you can. And so even if it is bad, trickster energy is here to tell us what looks bad isn't always bad. It can turn out for the good. And so do the best you can to kind of tap into your inner trickster and play along with that and be like, oh, look at this really terrible thing. Like, I bet something amazing is going to happen. And I can feel the changes that I'm going to be dealing with in September. All the stuff that Mercury retrograde brought up for me the past whatever months, it's to clear me out so that I am able to step into this new chapter with a vengeance, because I'm fucking ready to go. Oh! So anyway, those I believe are the messages coming through. I'm going to just see. And again, just for anyone watching the YouTube of this, the person who's been giving me such a hard time and said, I don't even know why I'm here. If you're going to treat people badly, he's still asking questions. Like, maybe you're the energy vampire and you need to look at that stuff. Anyway, so that wraps up I think all the messages that wanted to come through. I appreciate anybody who came, all the people who are watching afterwards. I'm assuming I will be back because the eclipse is the 7th, and I think the Sunday. No, is that? Oh my gosh, is the 7th the actual day of the or Sunday? Let me just look up the fucking. Because if I'm streaming on the eclipse, I'm gonna die. Oh, it is Sunday, 2 Sundays from now. The eclipse. So maybe I'll see you on the eclipse. I don't know. I'm just gonna see what happens. Eclipse season, you just surrender, man. It's just gonna happen the way it happens, and it's gonna be. It could be more cartoon villain shit. So if it's cartoon villain shit, just know that it is a smoke and mirror. It's a shadow. You're not going backwards. You're not failing. Don't beat yourself up. It's just stuff getting flushed out, and one more round of like, are you sure? Like, commit to the highest timeline kind of thing. And it's going to be fine. We are safe. Celebrate your wins. See how far you've come. Like, a lot of these things are just going to show you how far you've come, and you're doing a great job. And I know it's hard. And so if you come back, come hang out at the Midnight Diner. We're gonna just chill. We're gonna wallow in the joy that we have. Like I said, this has been, even though it's been a mixture of the worst and best year of my life, the best year of my life. I mean, it's fucking amazing, you know? So I'm really glad I did this stream today, because I really didn't want to. And like I said, famous last words, I have been talking for an hour and a half, even though I was like, it's only going to be 20 minutes. But thank you for listening to all the messages that wanted to come out, and I hope you got something out of this. And if you I don't know. If you need extra support, come back around in 2 weeks. We'll do the eclipse energies there and see how everybody's doing. Check on in and bring your coffee and pie and wear your party PJs and anything else you need to do to get through this stuff. It's been a lot, but I remember saying at the beginning of this year, when I was talking about how it's going to feel like 10 years of change rolled into one, it was like, there will also be, if we allow, a lot of peaceful, beautiful moments. And that is indeed what has been happening. And it's easier for me to allow that for myself than others. Because like I said, my nervous system is not used to peace. Peace feels unsafe because safety has been taken away at a moment's notice. Stability has not been a thing I've experienced. So anyway, you're good. I'm sending you lots of big love and hugs, and I'm just going to remind you you're doing a great job. And I don't know. I guess we'll leave it at that. But I hope you're doing okay. See you in the dream space. I don't know why I said that, but maybe we all meet up in the astral at some point and we kind of figure out how to have a good time and bring those codes in to the reality here where it kind of sucks. But if you're in the what is the point phase, it passes. It's just a very important part of the whole cycle thing that we go through. And so I'm sending you lots of love and extra support while you kind of move through the what is the pointness of all this, because there is a point and you are on a mission and you are allowed to be and rest and not do and all the things, but we're going to get there. Lots of love to you, lots of peace, and I will see you next time.